This is the Crush Crowdfunding Podcast, the #1 place for people who want to launch on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. My name is Nalin, and I invite you to join me for tips, hacks, and insights to get you launched and fully funded. Hey everyone, welcome to another session of the Crush Crowdfunding Podcast. I'm really excited to have you here today and to really talk to you about crowdfunding and how you can absolutely crush your goal on Kickstarter and absolutely crush your goal on Indiegogo. Today, I really wanted to talk to you guys about getting attention for your campaign. So why do I want to talk about attention? Attention is actually really important for any campaign success because without attention, what is a launch? When you think about it, when some new product goes to the market or some new cool gadget or some new cool service goes to the market, one of the ways that it becomes successful is that a lot of people start rushing in to use it. Or one of the other ways to become successful is that it slowly grows in its user base, right? The more it grows in its user base, the more revenue you have, the more probably bottom line profits you have. And so in even just the wider market itself, attention is so key and so core to a product success, a business success, a service success. So when it comes to crowdfunding, getting noticed is really also one of the core tenets for success for any crowdfunding campaign. Again, getting noticed. That's the attention part, right? It's the attention. There's so many other crowdfunding campaigns that are live on both Kickstarter, on Indiegogo, on all the other platforms that are actually out there in the world too. So many campaigns that are coming live, right? So many campaigns that are in your same category, in the film category, in the board game category, in the apparel category, in design, in art, in tech. There's so many of these campaigns that are live even at the same time as you or launching even on the same day as you. So how do you stand out from the crowd? How do you get noticed? The only way to do that is get attention. Right? To get attention, to get people to look at you, to get people to write about you, to get people wanting to read about you, to get people talking about you, to get people to spread the word about you, to get people to just really want to know more about your project. And that's, getting noticed and just getting that attention. Today, I want to talk about the 2 avenues that you can go down when you do want to get noticed, the paid or the non-paid route, right? There's 2 avenues. There's the paid and there's the non-paid route. So let's start off with the paid avenue. So paying for attention is honestly one of the most obvious ways to get attention to your project when you're running a crowdfunding campaign, right? Paying for that attention is pretty much just buying people's attention, right? Paying for attention is buying people's attention. So what are kind of the ways that we can actually buy people's attention? Not only big campaigns do this, small campaigns do this too. One of the ways to get attention is to buy the attention. Pay for the attention by buying people's attention. So people do this through purchasing things like advertising. You've probably heard me talk about this before. You've probably heard other people talk about this before, but you can actually buy advertising on Facebook, on Google, on Instagram in order to get people's attention, get people's eyeballs to your page. What does this look like in real life? It looks like basically someone scrolling on Facebook, right? Or scrolling on Instagram or searching for something on Google, and boom, your ad pops up right at the beginning of the Google search engine. Or boom, they're scrolling through Facebook and your ad stops them in their tracks and makes them super curious and then has them click through to your landing page or campaign page, whatever you have on the other end of the line. Paying for attention. Ads is definitely a really great way to do it, and it's a really common way to do it. A lot of campaigns that launch on crowdfunding do that advertising. Facebook and Instagram are especially good at this because they work really well with introducing new brands to particular audiences that potentially might like that particular brand. So what does that mean? It means that if you're launching something like a new cool art project, right? Like an artistic lamp, for example. You can actually go on Facebook, on the Facebook Business Manager, and check out interest targeting that says, hey, these people like art, these people like Kickstarter, these people like lamps and lighting, right? And just group all those together into one targeting group, and boom, you have people who literally will encompass people who like Kickstarter, like Lamps, like Arts, and you're going to be targeting right in the middle of that, which will get people who are probably going to be interested in what you're going to launch. So again, paying for attention, the first thing you can do is buy advertising. It's super easy to do. You can just get an account on the Facebook Business Manager really easily, and you can advertise on both Facebook and Instagram by doing that. And so again, paying for attention is one way to get notice with your campaign. The second way you can pay for that attention is to invest some of your budget into partnerships. And what partnerships means is that you can pay someone to talk about your project, right? Pay someone to write about your project, pay someone to film a video about your project, pay someone to talk to their huge audience group about your projects. So for example, if you're launching a tech product, like a tech hardware product, one of the biggest YouTube guys that do tech hardware is Unbox Therapy. Unbox Therapy has millions and millions of subscribers. So if you actually have the funds to invest in it, a partnership with someone that owns the channel like Unbox Therapy would get your product in front of so many eyes all at once. Right when the video launches, boom, you're going to have hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people flooding into your video, learning about your product all at the same time, all in the same way, and potentially being directed to your landing page, to your crowdfunding page in order to actually just get your product. So investing those funds for partnerships. You could also do things like work with travel bloggers, right? If you're launching a jacket you're going to use to, go hiking for like 5 days or like 5 months and it'll still smell great and still look great, you can actually work with a travel blogger who has a niche crowd that only talks about really long extended periods of backpacking. And if they write a full review about your particular product on their blog of like really dedicated and really enthusiastic readers, then you're going to get your product in front of so many people who are going to be really obsessed with your product idea. And so that's really one way to just pay for that attention, pay to capitalize on other people's audiences and bring them into your own audiences. The third way you can pay for attention is actually similar to the second way we talked about, but more specifically, pay to be put in front of crowdfunding specific audiences. Companies like BackerKit or Gadget Flow or Backer Club or Backer Camp, these companies have already spent a lot of time and budget and kind of relationship building time in order to build up their own giant following of people who are obsessed with crowdfunding, who are really interested in all these new products and new ideas and new services that are coming to market. These people are really just early adopters already to the crowdfunding idea. When they see something new, they say, hey, I need to have this before anyone else has it. Or they see something new and they're like, oh, I really want to be able to test it for myself before the mass market gets it. Or they see something new and they're like, oh, I really want to know how that thing's made. Let me just back the project so I can follow along the journey to understand more about what's happening there. So these crowdfunding audiences have already been pre-built. There's so many around you already. And the cool thing is that we know that people who back on crowdfunding once tend to come back on crowdfunding again. So if you do end up working with having that extra budget to spend, I would really recommend you to work with these agencies, these companies that have crowdfunding specific audiences already, just kind of queued up, ready to back a new cool campaign. You can do things like work with them to get a front page feature, or get something like a social media shout out, or get something like a newsletter blast to a really dedicated segment of their audience, or get a front page banner or something like that. There's a lot of ways you can work with these particular people who already have crowdfunding audiences at their disposal. And again, it's just paying for attention. If you have the budget, how are you going to get noticed? The way to get noticed is to pay for it. And the ways to pay for it is, again, through advertising, through partnerships, or through working with these people who have these crowdfunding audiences ready at their disposal already. So those are kind of the paid avenues we talked about for getting noticed for your crowdfunding campaign. Another avenue that I'm sure a lot of you guys are really curious to hear about is how to get noticed and get attention for your campaign without spending a dime. Okay, that's probably the one thing you've been waiting to hear about. You're probably watching this video and being like, when is she going to get to it? When is she get? So, okay, let's talk about this. I know I'm going to be talking about not paying and still getting attention, but to be honest, you're going to still have to pay in a certain way in order to get that attention. So what I mean is that instead of paying for that attention with money, you're probably going to be paying for that attention with your time. With this, what I mean is that, no, you're not like going out and just like paying for Facebook ads, like working on these partnerships and making all these calls to all these people. But what you're doing is you're building relationships using your own time. What that means is you're really just going out where all these potential backers are hanging out and you're just talking to them, seeing what their problems are, seeing how your product can potentially help them, right? Adding value in that way so that they're like, hey, this guy's pretty cool, or this woman's pretty cool, and that product's pretty cool. Let me follow them and see what they're doing with their launch right now. So in the backer side, you can actually do that. Go to where they're hanging out and add value there. If you're gonna go to the big leagues and start working with people like influencers or people with huge backings and huge crowds behind them, following their thought process, following what they're doing, following what they're recommending, then what you're going to have to do is, again, go to where their group is and start adding value so that you get noticed. What this looks like in real life. Imagine you want to, let's go back to that travel product, right? If you're working on like a travel jacket, and you want to be noticed by this really, really big travel blogger in your particular niche, what can you do to not spend money to work with them, but spend time to work with them? What I would do is I would literally follow them on every single social channel that I can. Just start by that. See what they like, see what they don't like, see what their crowd is saying, see what their community is saying, and then do things like liking their comments, commenting back to them every time they drop a new blog post, every time they drop a new video, making sure you're commenting on it, making sure you're making a contribution to that community in some way through the things that you're saying. If people are asking questions about their product, be sure that you're there to even like answer for them instead of their customer service rep or instead of them coming to do it themselves. Just be there in their community, be everywhere for them. Kind of surround them and see how you can add value. And by doing that, you're going to get noticed. You're undoubtedly going to get noticed. You might not know that you're getting noticed, but you definitely will be getting noticed. People know when others are interacting with their content. People know when others are adding value to their content. So if you are adding value in some way, if you are talking to their backers, talking to their community, responding and respecting their content and really sharing it and talking about it and hyping it up, they're going to notice you. So down the line, and when it's finally time for you to make an ask, or it's finally time for you to say, hey, I have this cool product. I would love it if you could try it out and potentially tell your community about it because I really like your community. I've been here for a while and I love what everyone's doing. I connect with a lot of people here. When you make that ask down the line, your name definitely will stand out. But again, this isn't kind of an overnight success kind of thing. It's not something you can start Monday and then on Friday, you're like, okay, I'm done. I'm ready. I can go and just like live my life. I can ship this product off and they'll review it and then it's going to be great. It's not a short-term thing. It's not short and quick, just like paying for attention would be. It's taking that time and that effort to really build and foster that relationship. If it's a journalist or if it's a press person that you're trying to get in touch with, you just follow what kind of articles they like to write, what new things they're writing about, or what new types of stories they're tweeting about, or what kind of new things they're posting about in all the interwebs. If you're, again, trying to get this particular journalist to write about your product, check out what they're writing about. Make sure to comment on all their articles. Make sure that when they're tweeting something, you're like tweeting back at them like, oh, cool idea, or you're retweeting them, or that you're liking their tweet, something like that. Because the way that you present yourself to the influencers that you're trying to work with, the way you're presenting yourself to their community, the way you're presenting yourself to people who you want to build that relationship with is really key, and they will take notice. It just takes time. It's not about spending money and just getting a review right away, or spending money and just getting something written up right away. It's about really fostering that relationship, understanding where they're coming from, understanding where their community is coming from, understanding where their passions lie and why they're doing what they're doing and why they're writing about what they're writing and why they're building a following they're building, and being able to add value in your own very specific way according to the product and according to the idea that you're bringing to the table, and making that connection, making relationships that, again, down the line, you can make that ask and feel comfortable making the ask because you're one step closer into their inner circle, pretty much. One of the key things is to get noticed and get that attention. Get noticed, get attention. There's going to be a lot of crowdfunding campaigns at launch. There's going to be a lot of crowdfunding campaigns that are already live when you've launched. There's going to be a lot of alternatives, potential alternatives out there that people can potentially spend their money on to get immediately, rather than spending on your project that will ship 6 months, 3 months, a year down the line. So how do you make it so that your project stands out? It's getting that attention and getting noticed by people. And you can do it, again, in 2 ways, either paying for it or either spending time to get it. So there's 2 ways. Make sure that you know what kind of budget you're working with and what is possible for yourself. Do you have time to invest in building these relationships? Or do you have some budget to invest in just kind of paying for these relationships? Be sure to evaluate what you have before you move forward. And so thank you for being with me here today. If you need a crowdfunding expert, feel free to get in touch. You can get started by heading to crushcrowdfunding.com. Lastly, I would be really grateful if you could leave a review for the podcast, because it will really help others who want to learn about crowdfunding just more easily find out about the podcast. Thank you so much for being here with me, and for subscribing to the podcast, and for continuing to listen and just being here with me to go on this journey to crowdfund your product and your idea. I will see you guys in the next session. Thanks for listening to the Crush Crowdfunding podcast at crushcrowdfunding.com. Tune in the same time next week for more ways to crush your launch.